Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. On the agenda tonight we have The Who, and this is going to be their performance from Woodstock in 1969. So let's get these guys up on screen and see how they get on.
People try to put us down, just because we things they do look awful. Oh, I died before I get old. My generation, baby. Why don't y'all fade away? Yeah, don't try and dig what we all talking about my generation. I'm trying to cause them. Talking about my generation, baby.
So I'm just going to stop it there and just to have a quick shout out to John Entwistle with those really great hooks on the bass that we have in this track. And this track as a whole, I mean, it kind of connected with the youth at the time because there's always going to be generational gaps and young people are always going to have a different opinion of things than older people. So it was a really cool idea for a song and something that really hit a chord with young people at the time. And just going to see The Who at Woodstock, how cool must that have been? It's a shame that the camera doesn't pan around to see the massive crowds there, because that would have been cool to see as well. But The Who as a band, obviously we've got Pete Townsend on guitar, who was one of those classic iconic guitarists with his kind of windmill that he does, and just the style of his playing and the style of the whole band. The Who were one of those bands where it was like a perfect storm. You had John on bass, who I already just mentioned, but imagine if Pete Townsend was a shy and retiring guitarist while the other three were kind of all over. It just wouldn't work. So you've got Pete as the ideal guitarist, and you've got Keith Moon. I mean, what a drummer Keith Moon was. Again, it's one of those perfect storms, and you got Roger Daltrey as well on vocals. Again, just a perfect mix there of really similar personalities that come together musically to make some really great music and really great performances as well. I mentioned John Entwistle with his playing of those bass lines, and it's quite rare to have a track that you're listening out for a bass run or a bass line, because normally the bass just supplies that foundation but doesn't really get to take the main stage or take the focus of a track, whereas John kind of had that ability to write a really cool bass line. Bands like The Who, they might have been seen as at the time kind of a loud rock band, and you know, I'm sure the older generation didn't get it. They didn't understand what the young people liked about it. But with all the top bands, there is always dynamics. It is always deeper than you think. There will always be you know, a great start to the track, like here where everything cuts out and it's just a bass line. It's just great dynamics. It just works on such a deep level to keep everybody interested. And even Roger's vocal, just throwing in the stuttering, is a totally different thing that nobody would have heard before in any other track. And you've got Pete Townsend, who's different on guitar. You've got Keith Moon, who's different as well on the drum kit. And then you've got John Entwistle, who's playing bass, and he's actually making the bass the focus of a part of a track. So it's different. So they've got so many elements here that when you add them together gives you a totally unique sound and a totally unique product. The other thing is the amount of energy they put into their live performances. And you'll see at the end of this clip as well that they were famous for smashing up their guitars and smashing up their equipment. And I saw an interview with Roger Daltrey not so long ago where he said, of course, they've always done that. So in the early days of The Who, they were performing and they were selling tickets, but they were making a loss at every gig because of the amount of equipment they destroyed. That is rock and roll. I mean, if there's any kind of definition of being rock and roll, then that's it. Yeah, really cool attitude. But what I'm going to do is just going to let it play on a little bit and keep an eye out for the dynamic change. You'll see it as soon as it happens. All the top bands, past and present, have that ion dynamics all the time.
Why don't y'all fade away? What? Trying to call. Talking about my generation. It's my generation, baby.
I'm just going to stop it there because there is that dynamic change, and it is so black and white and it's so light and shade in terms of there's that sun cut off. I really like the way that they froze, like Keith froze on the drums and Roger froze on the vocal as well. It gave a really cool visual effect. Again, these little things that they get together and work out in the rehearsal studio for live, and it's something that just makes them different. But here we've got now a total drop down to clean guitar. Like every track that's ever been popular, it's that journey of just starting really full out dynamically 100 miles an hour, then bringing it straight back down to now something that the crowd will quieten down just to hear what's going on. A lot of the older generation would just think it's loud and kind of, pointless or whatever. They see the attitude and not the music. And unfortunately, even with music that's got attitude, there are depths to it that lots of people don't see. Different genres of music, it doesn't matter what genre you're talking about, there will be elements in every one of those hits that have the same thing, changing dynamics, hooks in particular places, like a bass taking on a hook and playing a line, a melodic line that sticks in your head, or going to a different instrument, whether it be a keyboard or guitar, or even a vocal line that sticks in your head. So many genres all share the same parts of the song that kind of make it popular and make it a hit. I don't want this video to go on for too long, so let's have a little skip forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Who.
And I just wanted to keep in the announcer at the end because it's such a formal announcement. He's just smacked his guitar on the ground and he's thrown it into the crowd. And the announcer just says, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Who." You know, it's so formal. At the time, how many other bands would do that? Would not only kind of perform that way, and Pete Townsend just having that kind of bravado and confidence at the end and throwing his guitar down onto the staging. And how many other bands were doing that at the time? It's something that made them stick out. Some people might have seen that and thought, oh, it's just a gimmick, smashing up your instruments, and that's all they can do. But listen to the songs, listen to My Generation in particular, and have a little listen to how many different aspects there are. That drumming from Keith Moon, he's a totally unique drummer, he's in his own bracket. You've got Pete Townsend, totally unique guitarist as well. And you've got John with his bass lines that you can just throw in there that have got such a strong melody. So it's just four guys that when you start them together just made a really great sound. And the other thing to mention is that with The Who and with their live sound, they get a really great live sound. But of course, it's a three-piece setup. You know, Roger's just strutting around the stage, doing his thing, supplying those vocals. Roger just gets into the performance, even when he's not singing. He'll just headbang or he'll do something to get the crowd engaged. And it's just having that natural frontman again that's going to make your band stand out compared to another band who might be a little bit more shy and retiring. And that's the opposite of The Who. The Who were just all out there, rock and roll in your face, but they built on the foundation of great songs and great playing ability, great melody, and appreciation of dynamics like we see in this video here. So yeah, The Who, 1969 Woodstock, what a great performance sound. What a cool gig that must have been to actually witness there in person. I'm sure if anyone's seen The Who in a small venue, your ears will know about it the next day, but that's what you get, just a proper rock and roll band. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!